Yo guys, Punkrat another video. It's almost here, friends. A couple months ago, you heard me say that over and over again. It's almost here, friends. Classic is almost upon us. Well, this time, I'm not going to talk about the release of the game, of course, but the release of Phase 2, where PvP conflict finally begins. So it's really time to get PvP ready on your main character if you expect to stand a chance out there in the dangerous open world. It's no secret that there's some insanely value-packed items in Classic WoW. Items that can turn the tides in a battle or save your life from a gank through its utility. There's so many good items out there for PvP, mostly trinkets, but I mean, come on, vanilla PvP is straight up World of Trinket craft, to be honest. So that's the concept of this video. The best or most OP PvP items in Classic WoW. Now, as a little disclaimer, please keep in mind that a lot of these items are in fact not available right now in Phase 1, but this list is meant to cover the entirety of vanilla and be relevant throughout the game's timeline. So I'm covering items from later phases as well, and also a little additional disclaimer on top of that, but keep in mind that I'm not going to be including any engineering items or any of those obvious items from quests and stuff that you get, like title charm and whatnot, because I've mentioned them in a million different videos, and I want to focus on more quirky items outside of the core, that the mainstream ones that everyone's already aware of. So without further ado, here's the most OP PvP items in Classic WoW. Let's get into it. Alright, so the first ones that we're going to cover are the shield trinkets. There's a bunch of these available in the game. Some are available right now, and a couple of them are not available till later phases. The first one, and probably the easiest one to get, is Mark of Resolution. You get this from a quest out in Western Plaguelands called Alas Anderhall. It's one where you have to kill that elite named Iraj, I believe, who's that lich in the middle of that island in Western Plaguelands. So the Mark of Resolution is pretty basic. It's just absorbs 350 to 650 physical damage. It's only physical damage, so keep that in mind. It doesn't work against spells, and it increases your chance to resist a stun and a fear. This is probably the worst one, especially considering it has a 30-minute cooldown. Now, the next one that's available right now is Arena Grandmaster, and this one's really difficult to get since you have to get 12 Arena Master trinkets from the Gurubashi Arena event. It has a 1% chance to dodge and absorb 750 to 1250 damage, again on a 30-minute cooldown. The reason why this one's actually really good is just because of the sheer amount of damage that it absorbs, and of course you can get this on a level 19 twink if you want. So imagine absorbing that much damage on a level 19, you're effectively doubling your health pool if you're twinked out with 1200 to 1400 HP on a BIS twink. Now, the next one, and probably the easiest one to get, comes in Phase 4. It's called the Defiler's Talisman, and you get this from Arathi Basin Reputation. It requires friendly, and it absorbs on the max level at level 60, 495 to 605 physical damage. Once again, physical damage doesn't work against spells. But the reason why it's really good is that it has a 3-minute cooldown, so you can use it over and over again. The other ones have a 30-minute cooldown, so this is 10 times faster in its recharge rate. Now, the absolute best one, and the one that's most highly sought after, only comes from Phase 5, and you get it from AQ40 off Uro. It's called the Burrower's Shell, and it absorbs 900 damage flat every single time. There's no RNG element, and of course probably the best aspect is that it has a 2-minute cooldown, so you could use it over and over again. This is very common to see on priests, specifically because they have almost no survivability, no defensive cooldowns like pain suppression or anything in vanilla, and I've always seen PvP priests go after this trinket as a #1 priority for PvP. Alright, now these next two trinkets again aren't available right now, but eventually they're going to be available, and they're pretty easy to get. I mean, it takes a bit of a time commitment, but they're pretty much guaranteed. We're talking about the Renataki trinkets. The first one is Renataki's Charm of Trickery for rogues, and then we've got Renataki's Charm of Beasts for hunters. I can't say enough when it comes to these trinkets. They're probably my favorite on the entire list in terms of sheer value in PvP in a 1v1 scenario. Renataki's Charm of Trickery has an on-use effect that instantly increases your energy by 60 on a 3-minute cooldown. So again, it's not like one of those PvP trinkets in vanilla that you generally see, engineering trinkets and whatnot, that have a 30-minute cooldown or something. It's on a 3-minute CD, but this is incredibly good. Rogues are all about stun locks, and a lot of the times you feel like you're energy starved, or you're missing just a little bit of energy to finish the target. Instead of having to use a Thistle Tea, you could just use this trinket, get your 60 energy, and boom, Cold Blood Eviscerate and finish the target. Now, Renataki's Charm of Beasts is top of the line. It's arguably even better, and it's one of the things that I'm probably most excited for having a hunter and getting ready for PvP. Now, Renataki's Charm of Beasts is probably one of my favorite trinkets in the entire game. It's basically like the original Readiness, that talent that we saw hunters get, I think in Wrath of the Lich King, if I'm not mistaken. So if you read it, it has an on-use effect that instantly clears the cooldowns of aim shot, multi-shot, volley, and arcane shot. So you can scatter trap your opponent, full combo, reset all your cooldowns, and go again. Or just line up a second multi-shot on top of the combo for a potential extra 1000 plus crit. This trinket is stupid good, and of course enables some nice one-shots on a hunter, and again a 3-minute cooldown. Alright, so the third item on this list is the Freezing freezing band. This is something that I'd say is really highly sought after right now for mages. In fact, my friend is about to get a second one. He's been spending all of his time just trying to get these at a good price. So if you're on Fairlina and you want to sell one to him for about 200 gold, he'll definitely buy it off you. So freezing band is just a basic frost spell damage ring. It has 10 frost resistance, spell damage, increases damage done by frost spells by 21, but the most important thing is the equip effect, the secondary one that says when struck in combat has a 1% chance of inflicting 50 frost damage to the attacker and freezing them for 5 seconds. Now, obviously 1% is not huge, so it's RNG, and you'll probably want to run 2 of them, which will give you 2% since it's not unique, but it's just about the cheese and the synergy. Imagine playing a mage and having a warrior attacking you or a rogue, and after they hit you, they just turn into a block of ice, and the beauty of it is you can shatter them in that ice. So as they get frozen, you just turn on them, full frostbolt combo, and just put them 6 feet under. Just a cheesy trinket. It's a novelty item, but it's actually really good as well. Alright, so while we're on mages, let's cover another item that's specific to mages. We've got Mind Quickening Gem. It's a class specific trinket that drops in Blackwing Lair. Now this is definitely the most highly sought after mage trinket come phase 3 in PvE and in PvP, especially for speed clearing, considering the bosses die so fast that having a trinket that gives you basically like a bloodlust is by far the biggest DPS increase, and putting that on top of your arcane power and maybe power infusion just allows you to get way more out of those cooldown pop abilities than anything else. So the Mind Quickening Gem has an on-use effect that quickens the mind, increasing the mage's cast speed by 33% flat for 20 seconds. So it reduces your cast time by 1/3. That's crazy. So if you have a 1-second cast, it'll be 0.66 seconds. This is so freaking good in PvP, and obviously you guys know exactly why. It's basically like Icy Veins. Icy Veins is probably most commonly used in PvP arenas to get off a quick polymorph cast. You'll just sort of like cheese the healer, boom, get a nice polymorph cast while he's on global or something. You only have to deep freeze or do anything really to secure the polymorph. It also allows you to get out big combos quicker, and just in general you can understand why it's probably the best PvP mage trinket item that there is. Not really much else to say. The Mind Quickening Gem, you guys want this, I want this, and I'm not even a mage. Everyone wants this. So let's stick on BWL class specific trinkets for a little bit here, because there's actually a couple of them that are quite good in PvP. The next one is Life Giving Gem. This is the warrior class specific trinket. You'll see it has an on-use effect that heals yourself for 15% of your maximum health, and also increasing your maximum health by 15% for 20 seconds. That's kind of like a mini last stand, that ability in your protection tree. Now you might be thinking this is most likely a tanking trinket, warriors use this as a tank. Kind of. Tanks will pick it up and they will use it on specific fights like Maxina when the healers are web wrapped, or on Chromagus during the soften rage, specific fights where they might just want to have an extra defensive cooldown on top of last stand and shield wall, but that's not really where this trinket shines or where people use it for the most part. This is generally used as a PvP trinket for arms warriors and pre-mades. Warriors like to stack a ton of stamina in their PvP set. They might pop a flask of titans, they might get a bunch of buffs and have a healer following them, so they'll have like maybe 6,000-7,000 HP running around with a two-hander just globaling people. And obviously warriors are quite susceptible in general, so just having the life-giving gem I'd say is probably one of the best trinkets that you can have as a PvP warrior. And come phase 3 you're going to see tons of arms warriors rocking this in pre-mates. You might think you have him, you're about to kill him, boom, life-giving gem, and he just clobbers you. Now, last BWL trinket that I want to cover is the Shaman one. It's called Natural Alignment Crystal. It's an elemental shaman DPS trinket. It says it has an on-use effect that aligns the shaman with nature, increasing spell damage by 20%, improving healing effects by 20%, and increasing the mana cost of spells by 20% for 20 seconds. So it's almost like an arcane power in a certain way, where it increases your spell damage by a flat 20%, which is absolutely insane. And of course, you combo that with Elemental Mastery, which gives your next spell 100% chance to crit and reduces the mana cost of that spell by 100%, so it doesn't even get affected by the Natural Alignment Crystal's increase in mana cost. This is really freaking good, guys. I'm not even kidding. Elemental Shamans are nuts if they're well geared in PvP. They can just global people. Having this trinket plus Elemental Mastery is just crazy. It's bonkers, honestly. You guys are going to see it. There's probably going to be a couple Elemental Shamans who actually get prio on crit loot on your server, and those guys are going to be in BGs. They will probably be your mortal enemy. If they pick up the Berserker Hut, pop this trinket, Elemental Mastery, they will actually 100-0 global you. And before you can even react, the Chain Lightning cast is so freaking fast with the shock on the backside and you're dead. It's that simple. All right, now this next one is probably the weirdest item on this entire list. It's called Clutch of Foresight. And the reason why it's weird is that it's not a trinket, it's not an actual item that you equip to your character, it's just one that you use from your inventory, which I guess isn't the weirdest thing ever. But what really really makes it unconventional is that it's a single charge item. You can only use it once and then it's gone. You have to get another one. It drops in Stratholme off Malachi the Paladin. So it's kind of like a one-time use oh crap button that'll either save your life or just allow you to win a 1v1, and then you're gonna have to go back to Stratholme and get another one to use it again. But it's really insane. Let's read the on use. It says counters the enemy's spell cast, preventing them from casting any spell of that school of magic for 10 seconds, generating a high amount of threat. But I mean, you're not going to use it in PvE. So it's basically like a counterspell that any class can use with a 10-second lockout, exactly like counterspell. This item is crazy, and I see people pass on it all the time in Stratholme. I have one and I just have it in my inventory waiting for the perfect moment when you really need it. And I'd say if you're in Strat and you see it drop, definitely pick it up. It's gonna save your life one day, I promise you. But the actual value that you get, even though it's a single charge, is probably better than most items out there. All right, so this next one is pretty well known for a lot of the people that were taking part in the dueling tournament recently. It's called Glimmering Mithril Insignia. You get this trinket from blacksmithing, and it requires blacksmithing 225, but it's really damn good, like pretty much everything else on this list. So if we read the on use, it increases your armor by 50, who cares? All resistances by 10, again, who cares? But what's amazing is that it grants immunity to fear for 30 seconds. There are certain classes out there, I mean, all classes are susceptible to getting feared, but there are certain classes and certain races, of course, if you're not undead, where a fear just ruins you. I'd say feral druids being one of those classes. Well, if you have this trinket, you can just pop it on and it gives you almost like a death wish or a berserker's rage effect. Obviously none of the extra stuff, but just the immunity to fear for 30 damn seconds. So you can just plow on that warlock, no problem, or that priest without ever having to worry about getting feared at all. Pretty self-explanatory. Immunity for fear for 30 seconds. Nothing else needs to be said. All right, now here is the cheesiest trinket in the entire game, probably, or at least one of them. There's so many of them out there. It's called Shard of the Fallen Star, and this drops off trash in AQ40. So a lot of people are going to be able to get access to this. From my experience on private servers, it drops quite often, but again, we don't know how that's going to translate to classic WoW. So what does the trinket do? Let's read. It says, has an on-use effect that calls down a meteor, burning all enemies within the area for 400 to 442 fire damage. It's a meteor. You target it on one target, and after I think a second or two, a meteor comes crashing from the sky and blasts them. People love cheesing with this in PvP, specifically in pre-mades. Whether you're a mage and you frost over the target, cast a meteor while you're casting a shatter combo, and everything hits at once. If you're a rogue who's stun locking your target and then the meteor hits to help with supplemental damage, a hunter with a trap, whatever it is, people just love using this. You could use it as literally anything. Rep paladins, of course, with the Hodge. I actually love doing that. I used to have a rep paladin on a little server that I used to play on, and I would always run this. I'd Hodge with the full Crusader combo, and then the meteor would hit, and it would just be super satisfying. So this is one of my favorite trinkets in the entire game. It's visually stimulating. It just feels really awesome, and I definitely had to put it on this list. There you have it, some of the most OP PvP items in Classic. Some are quite rare, requiring full-time raiding, intense grinds. Others are very attainable for even entry-level players or your alt. Now, if you really want to thrive in open world PvP, you're going to want to work towards a bunch of these, honestly. This has really been my focus on my main character since phase 2 is right around the corner, and I've been having an absolute blast with all my different utility trinkets. The best part is using them in conjunction with each other for some broken CC chains or combos that take you to another level entirely. So good luck on your grind, guys, and get your gadgets. You won't regret it. It's the best part of Classic PvP. So if you like this video and want to see more like it, make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe. Of course, you know the drill, soldiers. Hit the notification bell to be notified every single time I post a new video straight out of the render oven. And with that said, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.